we're trying to get started with our next podcast, and we're having issues, which
Janie's
we always have
crying.
issues when we deal with family. I don't know whose family that is, but it's someone's family. So anyhow, we have a good topic, but before we get to that topic, we want to thank you guys. I want to thank you, whether it's following instructions, whether you guys are just excited about it or not. But we've asked in previous podcasts for you guys to share the podcast with friends. Let your friends know about it. And so many of you have done that. We certainly appreciate it. The other one is we've asked for you guys to leave reviews, and the bigger the reviews, meaning 5-star reviews, the better. And for
We
whatever,
don't allow any other reviews. It's 5 or nothing.
well, that is not true, because then that would mean we don't live in a free place. We are communists. And
we support freedom of speech. We just delete the stuff we don't like.
you say anything you want. We just won't acknowledge that you exist, and that's not true because
Don't give them that idea because Spotify doesn't let you delete reviews or podcasts or Apple. So
we're doing good so far then.
Yeah.
yeah,
So if
those are legit.
if you don't like something they're talking about, then tell us. Don't go and leave it in a review.
Yeah.
Just call us and call me, because I know trust me. There's a lot of things they say that I don't agree with. So anyhow, with that being said,
Okay, here, Iowa bow hunter on TikTok, hunting.fishing.forlife. He's the man. He's one of them that was putting it on his social, so we appreciate that.
thank you, Iowa Bow Hunter.
He must comment on a lot of stuff because I see his name.
Yeah, we just had a conversation with him. I'm trying to recall what it was about here.
I think he might have gave us a podcast topic, but he's been using the scents and had a whole bunch of deer
That's
crushing
what it
his
was.
scents. Yep, good guy.
Well, that's
So,
cool.
He do be the man. Yeah.
All right, so what we're doing today is I think we got a really good topic for you
looking for
guys.
sponsors in different categories now.
These guys are so annoying. That sounded
We
really
have
weird.
fun. We have a good time. We're all smiling and giggling like little schoolgirls. We're living life to the
I
happiest.
agree. The little schoolgirl thing I agree with. But other than that, if you come in here tomorrow dressed with a little tutu on or something like that, then it'll really be bad.
Tomorrow's Saturday, so I won't do that. But Monday, podcast number 2. Here we go, baby.
Podcast number 2. Okay, so what we're going to talk about I'm excited because we used to do this. We're going to try to condense this into an hour, and that is, what would you do in this situation? Is legal ethical? And Easton just ran into a situation the other day where he had to do something that he could have gotten in a situation where it would have been not legal but ethical to do it. It didn't turn out that way. But anyhow, we want to talk about that. And so we want to bring out some of this stuff, but some of the other topics, I have a couple that I'd like to hear what people are. We want to make you think and really see where people are coming from when it comes to how you present yourself as a hunter, as a person, either way. So do you want to start with the situation you had the other day?
Sure, because I think that a lot of people have probably had to go through
All of it, or everyone that I know, everyone's sitting in this room except for Nick, and that's because he lives in a bubble. So,
or under a rock like Patrick Starr. So,
Who's
anyways,
Patrick
you ever watch SpongeBob?
I don't watch SpongeBob.
Patrick,
Do you watch that while you have your tutu on?
I do watch SpongeBob still.
That's so weird.
What?
Yeah, every once in a while.
Where
good
do you
cartoon.
even find that?
I think it's on Hulu or Amazon Prime, one of the two. Yeah, you just talk into your thing. It says turn on SpongeBob, and it turns on SpongeBob for me.
Oh God.
Anyways, I know you guys have all gone through it. I know that a lot of other people have too. But I got a call from my landowner, the guy that I have permission with, and asked if I would come put my tag on a deer that he hadn't cut it out, but it got caught in a fence, and somebody had cut it out of his fence, and it was laying there. He said it's been laying there all day, was not doing great. It was a little buck. And I had no issue. I guess I should say I had no issue putting my tag on the deer. This is going to sound crappy. It was a little buck, but this time of year is my second buck tag. I couldn't.
But our season's still in.
Yeah, our season's still in. We still got like another 4 days. But I could have put my any sex tag on him, my second one. The only reason I didn't want to was not necessarily for the fact of, because I was about to walk up to him to shoot him with my bow. I didn't want to shoot like a wounded deer that wasn't going anywhere, wasn't doing so hot, with my bow at point blank, not in a great angle because he's like all hunched up and stuff. So it would not have been any better for the deer, I felt like, to kill him that way. So I got a hold of the DNR officer that was in our county and just asked him if he wanted to come out and shoot it, or if he wanted me to do it, or how he wanted me to do it. And he just said, yeah, just if you don't mind, if you have a pistol, because I carry in my truck, if you don't mind, just go over and dispatch it and be done with it. So that right there is a massive, or I guess just a common, not a big deal,
Right.
but just a very common one that happens to a lot of people, that you have a deer that's wounded, it's not going to do so well, or it's not going to live, whether you hit it with your vehicle, whether it's caught in a fence, whether it's just wounded. You pull up. I've had them where I pulled up on the side of the road because I see it's alive and it's not doing great. Somebody else had hit it. Do you shoot it right there? Do you try to get a hold of somebody? In my opinion, the ethical thing to do would be to shoot it right there, to put it out of its misery. It's not the legal thing to do. So the legal thing to do, what you have to do, get a hold of your DNR officer, get a hold of the sheriff, get a hold of whoever the authority is in that area, to be able to either have them come dispatch it or allow you to dispatch it. And in this situation, I got it. I did it myself. It's never a fun thing to do, but I put it out of its misery right there. And it was pretty easy, I feel like, because it was legal and it was ethical, and he answered in a timely manner. It wasn't like I was sitting there all day waiting on an answer. But somebody who calls and can't get a hold of somebody, what are you going to do, you know? Because then you are in that legal,
Well, that's the
ethical
question
battle.
I think that we need to pose here is, what do you do when you can't get a hold of them?
Yep.
Well, so what did he give you? Like, did he say he was going to give you a salvage tag, or he was going to come get the deer or anything, or he just says?
No,
like,
that's kind of why I was surprised, because I told him the situation, and I had said I'd given this rundown, and because I was in a stand at that point after I'd talked to my landowner, because he had called me while I was like at my stand, and so I didn't want to walk over to the deer when I couldn't do anything to the deer yet. So I was sitting in a stand, so I texted him because I had his cell number, and
The DNR officer.
the DNR officer. I texted him and I told him, I said, hey, here's the situation. Here's what's going on. I don't know if you want me to shoot him or not. The landowner asked if I just put my tag on him. I'm okay with that if I need to. He goes, that's fine. Just dispatch it. And so I just wanted to clarify, because I was like, wait, you don't like, I feel like I should have some more explanation here. And I said, okay, so I have a pistol in my vehicle. You're okay if I go dispatch it that way? And he said, yes, that's fine. Just dispatch it. And now I could look into it, and I felt like I was going to keep him solely for the fact of now, like right now, when I shoot a doe or something, is for myself or for somebody else, or I'm donating it. And you can't take like a meat locker won't take your deer if there's not a tag on it.
Right.
So, and that was another part of that. Now that I think about it, that was another ethical thing for me, because I felt like I had to kill it because he was not going to live. I didn't know what to do as far as keeping it, because I was like, I can't take it. I don't know how to process it completely on my own. I mean, I could keep some of him, like whatever the cuts were and stuff that we can cut out and just throw on the grill, something like that. But I felt like I was wasting it.
Well,
because I couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, but you got to look at the fact, did you really kill it? Yeah, you finished it, but it was killed by an act of God, where he gets stuck in a fence. You're just put him out of his misery.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what you do at that point, that is, the state knows about it, knows where he is. If they wanted to go to the hush program, I don't know that every state has a hush program. A lot of them do have something. Hush program for Iowa is basically we can donate a deer at no cost, and then they'll cut it up and donate it to whether it's a food bank or wherever it goes. But
to answer, no, I didn't get. He didn't give me a tag or anything, and
that's because you didn't take it.
Well,
For you to take it, you would have had to have a tag.
Or he might have gone out there later and tagged it with a salvage tag or something.
Do they do that? Because I did. It was just the day after. I was out there yesterday hunting, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I think they will sometimes.
Oh, maybe because I did have to send him the location of it and everything.
Yeah, yep.
I bet you
think
he went and got
he probably made sure too that the story checked out and that everything was accurate. What isn't there? I feel like there's some states that have some kind of mercy law.
I've
or
heard
is that
of
not a
this.
thing? I feel like there's some states that have like
Maybe.
dramatic situations where there's an animal that is incapacitated, that gives you the permission, if you have the means, to be able to dispatch that animal. But so I think one thing I would say is I feel
Iowa
as though
is not one of those. If that is a
no, it's not. But so I think the question. So if we're going to say legal versus ethical, in your instance, you were able to do both, which
Yeah.
is fortunate. I think that we would all agree that there's times where if you couldn't get a hold of everybody, the ethical thing to do would be able to dispatch that animal. But that doesn't make it legal. My question would be so there's got to be a reason, though. Some laws are just outdated or just stupid, but there's probably a reason for that law in the first place. I know
it's not necessarily stupid or a useless law. It's because people get given an inch and they take a mile.
that's what I'm saying. What's the reason of the law?
Yeah.
And I think it's because they don't. It's the same thing. So when we lived in Montana, you didn't have to have anything to pick up a deadhead.
Right.
You could just pick up a deadhead,
Except
for sheep. Yeah, which I'm sure sheep was the same reason that they do it here in Iowa. In Iowa, you have to have a salvage tag to be able to pick up a.
So let's explain to people why that is. Why does the state make someone do that? Why do you have to have a salvage tag? Why couldn't you you're out shed hunting, or you're out deer hunting, or you're out pheasant hunting, and you come across a deadhead? Why couldn't you just pick it up and take it home? And then
Here in Iowa or in Montana?
Anywhere. Why do you think they put that in place? Well, I can tell you specifically why they did in Montana for the sheep.
Well, from what I understood here in Iowa, and I would imagine this is going to be the exact same with sheep, is because they didn't want to have somebody that had filled a tag, and then a 200-inch deer walks by them, and they're like, man, I really want that deer. And so then they shoot that one too without a tag, and then they just go back a few weeks later or whatever and pick it up as a deadhead. So now by having to have a salvage tag, they have to let a DNR officer know, and the DNR officer has to check the carcass and all that and make sure that it checks out. So I would think that it's because people took advantage of it. Yeah. And I think sheep was probably the same thing in Montana. The guys knew they got 30 years to draw a sheep tag, so I'll just shoot this one and let it go die and know where it is.
Well, honestly, you're exactly right, except for the fact that it doesn't matter whether you had a tag or not. Anyone could shoot it and then just remember where it's at, mark where it's at, even go hide it.
I think that's what he's saying.
And then come back. But I just want to make sure someone.
Sheep.
Yeah, guy would
Lord.
shoot a sheep and then just.
So why do they make you plug sheep?
Plug them? What is plug?
Because that officially says that he's been checked in, that sheep has been
so like
registered.
You have to take it to.
Oh yeah,
or do they come to you, or how's that?
Either
work?
one. Like at Matt's when we were elk hunting there, they came out.
Explain.
Okay, so what they do with the sheep when you kill one is they drill a hole in the actual horn, and then take and put a steel. I don't know if it's steel or lead or whatever.
Looks like a nail.
Looks like a nail. It's like a plug, and then they basically put that plug in there, and that's saying that sheep has officially been checked. It's been.
Why do they have to put it in the horn? Why couldn't they put it in like the skull or something? So you don't. Is it inconspicuous? Like if you wanted to mount
it's
it,
not
you
like
would notice it? Or?
No, you would. I mean, they'll put it in the back of it where it's not real noticeable.
I think it's because the horn is the value.
Yeah.
So if somebody was to sell the horns or something, and there's no plug in it anywhere, or if there was a plug in it, they could track it back to wherever it came from.
So that was in Montana, obviously. Mm-hmm. Is that similar to like when you kill a bobcat in Iowa? You got to call. Now, granted, that sounds a little easier because you just call the DNR and they'll meet you to come check out the bobcat or whatever. Then they give you a specific tag for the bobcat as long as it's in season.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's the case all the time. We actually have a pretty good rapport with our Fish and Game here, that our DNR officers, so they work with us. I'm not saying that they always will come to you. You may have to go to them. Depends on how busy they are and what's going on. But it's not just a bobcat, like otter. Same thing. Yep, you got to have that. There's a few others I think that I don't know. I don't do enough fur bearing.
Now trapping though I think is different. I don't think you have to get it. Do you?
Oh yeah, no. That's because that's what you're in the state of Iowa. When you kill a otter or a bobcat, I don't know if a beaver has to have the tag on it, but I know for a fact the bobcats do. Where you don't have to do that with a coyote. You kill a coyote, you're just.
It's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
But bobcats actually have to have a tag specifically placed on them, and I'm sure that an otter does too.
That was more so, I thought, for population, typically, because they're not selling specific tags. So if they know that they're reporting every bobcat that somebody's killing by giving them a tag every time, they can help.
Well, there's
count.
also because there's a limit on those where there's no limit on that. That's why they don't need
Yeah.
to know on coyotes. They don't need to know on coons. There's no limit on those, so it's unlimited. So there's no need for them to. But there is a limit. You can only kill one bobcat. You
Yep.
can only kill one otter, or trap one otter, or catch
It's
one.
Well,
Bobcat.
at a
two
time,
bobcats now, isn't it?
I don't
Or
think so.
three?
I don't think so.
Wait,
I think it's two
per
at
person?
least.
That's not a thing.
What do you mean? Yeah, it is. You
Like-
can't go shoot multiple bobcats.
I think you can shoot. I think you can shoot at least two.
We need to read about this. I've never
Yeah.
killed a bobcat, so I don't have this issue. But I'm just curious about like the guys that are going calling and kill
Right.
like
You can only kill one per person.
in a day, or is
No,
that just
total?
in the whole
like
season?
You can kill one bobcat in the state of
Oh.
Iowa. Now they switched it to 2. I didn't know they did that.
I
But
think it's 2.
I don't.
Or maybe it's that you can shoot one and you can trap one.
I bet
I
you
don't
that's
know.
what it
We'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that you can.
What are you supposed to do when you trap one? You gotta let it go.
You gotta let it go.
oh,
and
good
you-
lord!
You never seen
by
it?
that thing?
You never seen them go up with like a metal pan or like a shield, and they shield it until they get to its leg, and then open the trap and let it out.
Huh? I did not.
Captain America
I
style.
feel extremely oblivious to that one. I did not realize. I thought that was just as long as they're in season, you just have to keep.
No.
Wow.
No, you can't. I got a tag for a bobcat I didn't kill. I just found him dead one time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because I tried to skin it.
Yeah, I mean,
The one they found dead in the field.
Yep, he was just stuck there.
When was that?
Yeah, that was weird as
5
heck.
years, 5, 6 years ago, maybe
'Cause
more.
He was just gonna leave it, and then he called me and said, "Do you want a bobcat hide?" And then when I said, "Yeah," he said, "Well, here's where it's at, but we're gonna have to go get a tag
Where was it?
right over
across from his house."
across from the house there.
Was it big?
Average size. So that's the hide that I took for camp. So
It
the kids
reeked.
there was nothing wrong with it though. I mean, it was just
No holes in it or anything?
no, we couldn't find anything.
It literally looked like it just got sick or something and died
Weird.
in the middle of the field. At that, like it was like just curled up or like laid down in the field, died right there.
So again, there's
I don't
one of
remember
those
that at all.
legal, ethical things. Before I did anything with it, I called the DNR officer and said, "I found this. Can I? I'll put my tag on it. I don't care that it's using my bobcat tag." And I can't remember whether he had me use my tag or not. Because I was able to explain to him.
Oh, we got a research guy.
no,
Let's
no,
hear it.
Okay, so according to the Iowa DNR website, where did this go here? So you can have a total of up to 3 bobcats are allowed per season per license for harvest, either hunted or trapped,
Okay.
Oh, so you can kill.
based on the zone where the bobcat was taken.
Oh,
So
So
Nick
you
just
could
said
get-
that based on the zone of the state of Iowa, you can get up to 3 bobcats trapping or hunting them.
Gotcha.
So,
depending on the zone, however
which
many.
the
it is.
population of them has grown so fast here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would think that's
Oh, yeah,
absolutely needed.
we're seeing lots of them on our trail cameras.
Yeah.
But it seemed like I saw more, but I had different geographic stuff around back 4 or 5 years ago. Meaning now what I have, some of it's agriculture where before it was brush and stuff like that. So we held a lot more bobcats or we saw more of them.
I think we're just used to it now. Because I still think
I'm
there's a
seeing
lot.
way
We're
more
just,
than any. I could go the whole year and have one, and it was one because I knew where he lived, and he just happened to be where one of my cameras was at. One on camera all year, and this year I've had one mom with 4 kittens, and then another really big one, and then
that one's borderline mountain lion.
and then another one that.
Okay, hold on. He just brought up the next part of this legal ethical thing.
Okay, well.
Well,
So
I think-
anyways,
Heck yeah.
point being, I've seen a lot more bobcats lately, but yeah, I agree because this one is very, this one's fun.
Okay, but the next
That-
question, and
that's
it's
what I'm talking about.
it's happened in Iowa this year multiple times. You're sitting in your stand, and a mountain lion comes by. This is not for the Western guys that they have a tag in their pocket because they're going to shoot it if they do. I want to know your Midwest folks, Eastern folks, because you even see this could happen in Florida, could happen in the Wisconsin, Michigan. I mean, there's some throughout parts of that. But in the state of Iowa this year, someone turned in video to the state where they couldn't argue there is a mountain lion running loose in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Multiple people saw him. Some people videotaped him. One was obviously a hunter. It was out of a tree stand. what would you have done in that situation?
Shoot.
But
I'll premise it.
What's also legal though?
That's what I was just
I'm
going to say.
shooting,
Is
yeah.
I already knew that solely for the fact of, and you're going to argue with me because you always argue with me on this one. And you can look it up, and I've asked the DNR officer about it. It's the same thing with elk.
It's
Now,
not with elk.
You aren't allowed to have farms here anymore. Elk farms.
Or
Whether it's
Google, man, will you look it up?
you
See if
get
can
this
find
one
it.
going too. You're not allowed to have elk farms here anymore, and we've had multiple pictures of bull elk on.
We've had like
Trevor.
2.
No, last year we
Photos.
had 2, and this year it was the same
Just
one.
one.
Yeah,
And this year
only
we,
one ever.
I've only had one ever. That was this year.
I guess
Yeah.
I was referring to Drew too, because
It was the same one.
Last year and this year 2 different bulls
Yeah, he had.
Mm.
He did have pictures before.
completely.
Because
Because the one this year was a pretty good bull, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah, he was a dink.
Oh, well, I'm seeing a freaking bull in Iowa. It's big, okay? So, but anyways, my point being, last year when Drew had that, we talked to him, and he said that he could have killed it. Now, maybe they changed the law, and that's why you're arguing with me, because it's been more prominent, but the reason being is because they said that we're not allowed to have farms here anymore, and so if one were to get loose, it's not like it's an actual wild elk. They just don't want the domestic side
Right. It's
to get any of the wild animals
Right.
sick, so yeah, it's okay to shoot it, but they would take it. You're not allowed to keep it.
That's what
No,
I
I think they're protected. I'm pretty sure.
I want. What would they do with the mountain lion? They gonna
The
let
mountain
you-
lion
Lion, I
is
think,
legal.
is legal because
You can.
there's no. I'm trying to remember what I read, but I know the mountain lion's legal, and you can shoot them. But the elk, I believe, are protected.
Which makes 0 sense with what you're saying, because the mountain lion would be wild. We know it's wild. And the elk, we would know about 90% that is probably from a farm.
Well,
That
but there's
got
no
loose.
farms left.
Yes, there is.
Where?
There's 2 or 3 left in Iowa. They just can't pass them down. Once they pass away, whoever the owner is, they can't pass it on to their kids or anything. It's once you're done, it's done.
Are they allowing those elk to breed though?
They aren't allowed to breed anymore.
Okay.
So it's whenever either the owner passes away or whenever the herd is done.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look that up. I think is what makes the ethical legal argument so interesting is the benefit to legal is that there's a very clear line.
Yes and no.
This is what you can do. This is what you cannot do. Where ethics, it becomes so blurred is that ethical doesn't necessarily have a clear line on what is considered ethical. I think it's interesting when you hear you talk about the deer that you didn't really want to shoot him, not necessarily. I think that could have been a 170-inch deer, and you still wouldn't really want to put your tag on him
No, I didn't
because
want
it was the way in which you.
You're not hunting.
He
it.
could have
Yeah,
been a
you're
really
just
big
killing
deer, and either way, I was sitting there thinking, man, shooting this thing with a bow in this position is just not like. If I was hunting, I would never take that shot.
Well, it's just not the same
And
accomplishment. But I think that it's really interesting to me when you have your laws on things that should be legal and other things that should be illegal. It doesn't work that way. So for an example, I think that there's certain things as far as so you can't shoot a deer that is in pain or in misery or whatever that clearly can't go anywhere that was hit by some outside source. But yet, when it comes to shooting your bow, you can go and you can shoot a deer at 100 and some yards. There's no limit.
That is really
Because
weird
then
now
all
that I think
comes
about it.
ethical. But at the same time, is that just because they can't put a legal ramification on that? There's nothing that
Can't
they can
enforce
they
it.
can right. I think,
If there's a law, typically there's got to be a way to enforce the law, or be able to prove the law.
but at the same time, it seems as though there's these certain issues that have come up that, and maybe the states have figured out that some of them are worth the battle and then others aren't. But for instance, I think that the best thing that Iowa has is here in Iowa, if you shoot a deer and it goes onto your neighbor's ground and you have blood, as long as you have blood that you can show going across the fence, you can put your bow down and you can go and track that animal.
Any
And
weapon, as long as you can't have
yeah,
any weapon on you.
whatever weapon you're using, you can't be carrying your weapon. Which we're obviously going to tell you the very first thing you should do is call the landowner.
See, that's another thing too. Is I don't agree with that law. I agree with that law, and I don't agree with that law because some people walk up to that and they think, okay, it's onto the neighbor's land or whatever. I'm not calling anybody. I got blood. I got no reason to call them. In my opinion, the only time that should come into play is if you know that there's blood going across the land or going to the next landowner and they aren't letting you come onto their land. Once you ask them, well, you have blood to go over there, so you have a right to do it. But I still think that you should be legally required to call, to knock, whatever it is, to ask the other landowner to go on there, because a lot of times you're going to have a nice one. Like for us, we go help them. If they come onto our land or anything, we'll go help them and see if we can find it or anything, especially if there's blood. But I don't like I like the law that you can do that in the event that they aren't going to let you come onto their land. But I don't like the fact that people take it and just say, screw it, I got blood, I'm going.
Well, I can speak to that in both because I stand on both sides. I've been the guy that shot one and he went on someone's land. I've been the guy that owns the land that the animal was on twice this year. I would rather have it the way that Iowa has it than the way Montana has it. Where Montana, it's 100% up to the landowner.
Yep.
And if the landowner says no, even the DNR, I guess worst case scenario, I would like to see the states be able to have the ability that if the DNR officer shows up and he's willing to, look at the situation and look at the whole scene and say, this deer, this elk, or whatever it is, should be able to be recovered, then he should be able to do that. If not, I think that landowner should be charged. He should be charged with wanton waste.
Wanton waste, yeah.
Because that's not right to not let someone go get something that they legally and again.
And then ethically.
But someone could get away with one. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's kind of where they're coming from. But I don't want to say I disagree with you, Easton, because I like the fact that in the situation, at least that I know of this year, we had two separate instances where someone shot a deer and they came onto our property and they called us, and said, hey, this is what happened. And in both instances, we told them, you're fine to go. We told them where to go, look here, whatever. In one of the instances, they didn't have any blood. It had rained. And we still said, you're okay. We understand we're hunters, and so we're trying to give someone the benefit of the doubt. And here's what I would go one step farther. If we go out and we're shed hunting this year and we find a dead buck,
call them.
I'll call that person back and say, look, I think we might have found your deer.
Yep.
We did that a couple years ago. I found a really nice 12-point buck on my place, and I returned it to the gentleman that had shot it, and he was ecstatic, and that deer had gone over a mile. So anyhow, I think that there has to be some common sense placed into the law.
Because otherwise you're asking the law to police everything.
Yeah,
because now you got to put in there that there's a law. You got to call this person before you can do this, and then they got to prove that. And I think that, so let's just play devil's advocate. You have your best case scenario where they're a really nice landowner, and they say, oh, hey, I'm going to come down and help you. Now let's take the neighbor that absolutely hates his neighbor, hates him, and he thinks it's the big deer that he shot or whatever, and he hops in his quad and runs down there and tries to find the deer before him. What about that instance?
I agree. That's BS.
So that's where I think it's protecting the people that have blood.
The only reason I say that I don't like the law, because I like it in the fact that if I have a deer run around somewhere or run onto somebody else's land, I can go find it, no matter what. And that's my default. But I just don't like how some people abuse the fact of, oh, I got a little bit of blood, I'm going to go over here. And some people ruin that. But I just feel like it's a courteous thing. It's a person-to-person thing, a respect thing,
but
for somebody else's land.
Ethics.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's the only part that drives me nuts about it, because some people don't give a crap. They're like, oh, it's the law. All right,
oh boy,
I'm going.
We have the story of the worst ethical situation ever.
What?
Crown Royal.
Yeah. Oh, that
is number one. And for those of you that don't know that story, Karen shot a bull several years ago, a big bull.
It would be a
huge bull.
Biggest bull this family would have ever killed. And I say would have ever killed because she killed it. However, we couldn't find it. And I'm talking 3 days of looking, got in a plane, flew the plane trying to find it. I mean,
it was the most, like, you guys.
We knew it was dead.
Yeah.
The arrow punctured the middle of the elk, or the center part of the elk. So it was dead somewhere.
Yeah, on video. I mean, and we also had 4 of us looking for.
The only thing
we
didn't have back then, and that I wish that we had now, is Dan. Had I had my dog, I think I would have recovered that bull.
We didn't have. I don't think we had Onyx at that time though either.
No.
Because I think if we'd had Onyx tracking
and showed like where we gridded and what we looked, and we would have been able. Because I walked within a couple hundred yards, maybe 150 yards even, of the bull, and didn't know it.
Well, and
there's
I know
multiple things now that we would be thinking now, like, okay, we probably would have been able to find it.
Well, hang on, let me, so that people that are listening, they're going, now, how do you know all this? So what ended up happening is The landowner's son found the bull a couple months later.
How far had he gone from where you guys shot?
3/4 of a mile, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe 8. I think it was like 8/10 of a mile, which we went in the right direction. We were real close.
And you were never that was all on the land. You
it
guys,
was all on the ground. We
Yep.
never had an issue with walking off the place that we had permission to be on, but we couldn't find it. And then I guess when we flew it, he was up underneath a cedar bush, and so you couldn't see him. And so anyhow, long story short, I don't find out all this until a year later when we return there to hunt, and the outfitter that I'm working with says, "Did you talk to such and such?" I won't give the landowner's name. And I was like, "No, why?" And he said, "Well, his son found a big bull." And I was like, "And you're just now telling me?" I wish the outfitter had called me.
Which Dad had made it very clear. We shot a very large bull over there. If you hear anything on it, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And for whatever reason, but at the same time, a lot of these guys' mentality is just not that big a deal, And so kid found it a month or two after we had shot it.
And we say kid, like 40.
Yeah. I mean, the son is all, I guess. And so anyhow, when I hear this, the landowner gives me his son's phone number. And so I text him and I said, "Look, I heard you found this." And so long story short, he says, "Yes, I did," and actually sent me 2 photos of the bull laying dead, just the carcass of it in the rack. And
wasn't the arrow?
No,
Oh,
but
no.
I didn't need the arrow. It was confirmed. I mean, and when he told me where he found it, I mean, I knew right where he was. And so long story short, when we asked him to return it, we have video to show Karen shooting it. She had to show the impact of it and everything. Nope, he wouldn't do it. And there was nothing legally we could do to make him return that bull.
We even asked him.
Is
So
there
we
really
think
not,
he-
though?
We think he might have sold it or something because we even asked him to
Make a
let
replica.
us make a replica.
Yep.
You can even keep the bull and just let us make a replica of it, and we'll pay you for it or whatever. And he wouldn't do that either. So to me, I don't know why unless either you're that embarrassed about what you did that you don't even want to deal with it, or you didn't even actually he sold the bull or something like
Right.
that. I don't know.
I feel like I'm thinking about it, and there's not really anything I can think that would validate it. But how is there not something where you could talk to a game warden? Look, we killed this bull, 100%, no doubt. It's on the land that we are that
We have videoed.
you guide on, you outfit
Right.
it. That you have video of shooting it. You can see
Talk to
what the
all of
cause of the death was. Everything. It's within 3/4 of a mile, which is not that uncommon for a western
not for an
elk or
elk.
something like that. They can go a long ways. And here's where it's at. And this guy found it and won't give it back.
He found it like a month later, and
That's just, to me, I mean, I can see where there's not a legal or like an actual law in there that would allow you to get that back. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, how is there not? Because that's 100% you can prove
They couldn't do anything.
your bull, no doubt.
Okay, but let's go. And trust me, I can tell you right now, if they that sucked. And I mean, to this day, it still sucks because Karen has to deal with the fact of knowing that she killed him, but
Can't have him.
but couldn't recover him. And I don't know. It shouldn't be that the size of the rack matters.
It's the fact that it's the bull you killed, though.
Yeah, but this
well,
one
it
was
sucks.
this
The
one
other
was-
thing that sucks is like I keep thinking this just shows you how big the West is opposed to the Midwest. Because I keep thinking with 3/4 of a mile, like how did we not find him when we walked for 3 days? And that's where I really do wish we had that tracker or something because we were walking 4 or 5 miles away
right.
when we should have just been doing frickin' circles in a
Small-
loop
and really
with
looking,
all of us.
you know.
Yeah, because I know that like Josh and I walked through the exact same spot.
Yeah,
And was no at that time there was no way of knowing exactly
and that
where.
wouldn't happen today.
We'd have been able to.
We would have been able to.
You could have done all sorts of things. I mean, you would have had Onyx. You would have had Dan at this point. You could have used Warren's thermal in the plane. Is simply flying over. Maybe there's all sorts of different things.
Was Dan legal out there though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan's been legal out there for a long time.
Yeah,
I
why-
think.
why-
Dan
it's
would have
just-
been the key then. That's all you need is
It's-
you just stuck Dan on it and
It's
been
just
done.
a question of that's a lot longer of. I think Dan would have found him no issue, but Dan's a little bit different of a
Right.
of a
Well, that-
scenario because that's a lot like compared to tracking deer to elk. your average is probably half a mile to 3/4 of a mile for an elk, and for a deer, 3/4 of a mile is like, holy crap, you tracked a deer that far? That's ridiculous.
Do you think there's any
But-
way though that he could have lived for a few days and ended up there, and maybe we missed him, and that's
He
why?
was sick.
So you think he just went right there and bedded?
Bedded there and just laid there till he died. Yeah, I don't think he was up walking around feeding or anything like that, and ended up dying there. Not from when you look at the shot. When you see the shot, you know, it goes in right in front of his hip, and it's 16 inches roughly of penetration. She went through
He's not doing
entrails, you know, and more likely, you know, like the intestinal, which is going to cause more infection and things like that quicker. You know, it still ain't going to be won't be an ethical
Kill.
kill.
Yeah.
It's not what we're looking for, but it would have killed him for sure. Yeah, I would say that that bull was probably dead within 24 hours, if I had to guess. You know, so
There's all sorts of ethical stuff. I mean, what's not? I'm trying to think of one from Montana that you'd run into or some situation like that when we lived in Olney. I feel like there's a couple there.
Oh, I just had another one, and now you guys had me answer another question, and I forgot. That's called the getting over 50. You can't remember what you were thinking about just a minute ago?
Or just being dumb. One of the two.
No.
I had one. But I lost my. Not to be 50. What was it?
Warren just he can't focus on anything ever.
Oh, there's another really obvious one.
No. I'll talk to you.
Well, let's
guys
talk
while
a
we
little
wait.
bit about distance. So that's one thing where one argument I see on social media and everything all the time
How far?
is just that if it's legal,
It's
you
ethical.
should be able to do that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to be happy for anybody if whatever they're doing is legal. Well, I agree
I can
with.
tell you, I know
I
one
just
that you're
I
in
just
shotgun
No, I
down
just
the ditch.
No, well, that's a bad deal. That's here in Iowa. It's legal, and it ain't
That
ethical.
is- yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't understand that. So now you got to let people understand what you're referring
Are
to.
you going to forget yours?
I think that one is, as much as that's not ethical, I don't think it's freaking safe.
Oh, it's not. That's the whole thing with what we're talking about with the shotgun one is it's not even just shotgun. You can do it with anything. You can do a muzzleloader,
yeah.
shotgun, bow, anything, right?
It's legal.
You can hunt the road ditches in Iowa as far as like when you're on the ground.
because the state
I
owns
think you could do any
80
of it, but-
feet, I believe, is what it is from the center line of the road, and so in either direction. So they own the ditches.
Yeah.
Even if it's on my property, they own the right of way there, and so you can actually walk that ditch and shoot something. You can't go retrieve it if you like. I don't know what someone does on a pheasant that falls on my property 100 yards away.
I don't know because that is a pretty common thing. People walk the ditches for pheasants.
Yeah.
But
we
you
need-
have to shoot down the ditch, right?
I
You
would
can't
assume.
shoot across the road or. I think that's what it is.
Well,
Either
so
way, you're
what they're
shooting right
doing-
next to a freaking road. Like if there's a curve down the road or anything, and somebody's driving by,
That's what you
you
think.
accidentally shoot them.
So you have to think of is the only place you can shoot, unless they had permission from if they're like doing a drive from that side or something, they could shoot over there. But otherwise, they have to shoot
Down the road.
down the flipping road.
Yeah.
And I had so there, and I don't remember where the guy was from, but he was from the Midwest. He was not from Montana. I come over a hill one day, and here's a guy knelt down in the ditch with a gun pointed at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the frick are you doing? He's like, those elk were getting ready to cross the road. And it's legal for me to do that, which I don't know if it was legal in Montana. I called the DNR, our Fish and Game, right there. I'm like, hey man, this dude is hunting, and he's going to kill someone.
And that's with rifles.
That was with a rifle.
That's much longer than your shotguns or muzzleloaders.
But you can run into it here, and I'll guarantee you that there'll be someone that writes in and says, we're wrong, that's legal. You're 100%,
It is legal,
You're
100%.
100% correct that it's legal. I don't think it's ethical, and I don't think it should be allowed.
Safety. I mean, whether you think it's ethical or legal, it's safety. It's not.
Yeah, it's just a bad deal all the way around.
Okay, what was yours?
And I forgot again.
I told you to think about it in your head.
I was going to try to get it out, and then I didn't get it out. And so now
You're
it's
seriously.
gone.
It's 2 minutes ago.
I know. You only got like 30 seconds at this age. You
Oh my
got
gosh.
to like get it right really quick.
Okay, well.
Give me a second. It'll keep going. I'll I'll find it, and then I'll interrupt.
So are you sure it wasn't about distance?
No.
So all I was going to say is I think that all these people saying that you should be, that they don't care what somebody does as long as it's legal. And I would disagree with that to some extent, because I think that certain things make hunters look, if you shoot a deer at 110 yards and you hit it in the rear end, you know, and because you're taking stupid shots, you have to shoot 3 more times and something like that, I'm not happy for you. I think that you totally disrespected that animal, and then you disrespected hunters as a whole and make us look bad. Especially, it's one thing to be doing it on your own. It's another thing to be putting that stuff out on YouTube or social media or whatever, and then saying, "Hey, look at this! I shot this animal at 110 yards," I've seen shots before, people shooting so far that the animal has time to spin around, and then they get lucky and it hits them where it's supposed to, and be like, "Check out this awesome shot I made." I'm like, you didn't make an awesome shot. You need to go buy a lottery ticket, because that's about as lucky as you can get. And that's, to me, there is a certain extent where you can claim. People will say if something's not inside of with the distance thing, not that you can't tell somebody else what is ethical. And I agree with that to an extent. But there is certain things where you can get that are so ridiculous that I think you can't. If you're shooting
going to do this, though.
We'll do a whole thing on this, but I'm just referring to the fact that it is legal. It's absolute. I could go out and shoot at a deer at 130 yards if I want to. That doesn't make it remotely with my bow. That doesn't make it remotely ethical to do that.
Crazy enough, you could probably make a shot at 130 yards pretty consistently within a decent area, but that doesn't mean it's going to on a live animal. Yeah, a live animal that can move.
Okay, so I just thought of mine, and there's 2.
Okay.
Wow, I'm proud of you.
I am. I knew. I just
Good
needed.
job.
I just needed a little bit. Just had to reconnect.
It's like stage fright.
No. Let's look at the situation like what I'm talking about, because I've actually had someone write us and say, "What should I do?" You brought it up a minute ago, talking about your neighbor shoots a deer and it runs over on the neighbor's property. You call the neighbor and say, "Hey, I want to find this deer." So now you know your big buck's been shot. There's nothing legal that says that if you find, and I'm going to use the instance where I found the big buck a couple of years ago. I had no idea what killed that deer.
Yeah.
But what would you do? I mean, especially, let's just say that this is not a forked horn, or it's not a little 8-point buck. This is a freaking 195-inch deer, or 200-inch deer. And you just found it dead. You found it legally.
How do you know that they were looking for it?
No, you don't have a clue.
Oh.
But what should you do? Or what do you, legally,
well, first
you
off,
can keep the deer. You got to call and get a salvage tag, and that deer is yours.
Yeah, I'm 100% going to keep it if I know that if I got no way to figure out who killed it.
Okay, but
what am I supposed to? What do you want me to just start? It's like,
are you going to try though?
If I have an idea, if it's the neighbor, first off, if it's that caliber of a deer, I have a feeling that if it's somebody that was in that area, I'm going to know that somebody shot something along those lines, and I would be doing something along the lines of, like.
But do you
Yeah.
put that out there and say?
No, I'm not putting it out on social or anything.
Did anyone kill this deer? Because are you going to get the dude that drove down the road?
No, you're not going to get the guy that
he's
answers
like,
it.
yeah, I legally shot this deer over on such and such a place.
No, I'm going to be doing, if it's a tough situation, because I need to know. If I know that somebody, like one of my neighbors or somebody in the area had shot that, whether it was during bow season, shotgun season, whatever it was, and it came over and fell dead.
If you knew that.
If I can even just text that landowner, like, hey, didn't you have a guy that was hunting or something like that, and figure out whose it is, fine. I'm giving it back. I don't care if it's a world record. If it's theirs, it's theirs. But if I have no way, I'm not going to go calling every person that hunts within a 10-mile square radius or something to see if anybody shot it, because, one, you're probably not going to find them. Two, you might have somebody, I shot it, because they want it.
Yeah, but how do you can confirm that really easily? What's the deer look like?
Well, yeah, but, I mean.
So that's a really interesting question.
It is.
Because we're in a much different position than most people in the fact that and I believe that's how we found that who shot that 12, because they weren't looking for it. Well, they were, but they weren't looking for it all the way on our place because it was far enough away. They didn't think that he'd gone that far. But we post something like that on social media. Check out this deer that we found or whatever. And typically people that are hunting near us see our social or whatever, and then they're like, hey, that's my deer. And every single time we've ever had that happen, we have no problem giving it back to them because it's the right thing to do. But we do make sure too that they are able to confirm in some way. I've had deer that I've found before where I've put out the location of it, and I'm trying the one that you guys got, Alyssa, trying to remember. Yeah, you guys ended up giving Alyssa the sheds. Like, we cut off and gave her a little set of sheds after getting the salvage tag, because I put it on social media in all these places that I could, because I was pretty sure there was a hole or something. There was some reason that I felt as though somebody had killed it, and did everything I could to try to find the person. And it was months, never found anybody. And so then we just kept the deer and made it into rattling antlers. But the point is, how hard do you try? Now, I feel as though if somebody shoots a big enough deer, like you start talking 190, 200, they are probably going to have a text out to every single person that they know in the neighborhood if they really think that they killed it.
That's my point. If I'm finding a deer that big, I'm probably going to know that it's somewhere around there. First off, I'm probably going to know the deer.
Okay, but let's say you don't. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there and say, okay, you find a 200-inch deer.
Okay.
I'm going to make this like really tough. It's a 200-inch deer. It's legitimately, you're looking at it going, and that's what happens is you get this deer home and someone scores it for you and they're like, wow, this is a giant deer. How hard are you going to see if you
How do you know if it was killed by somebody?
Well, you don't. You have no idea. So then, and you've heard nothing about it, and then all of a sudden someone hears that you found this deer and they tell you, I shot that deer.
Well, I guess first off,
because
if I can legally keep it, like with the salvage tag, I'll take it. And then at that point, if you have no idea whether somebody killed it, whether it just died, or whatever happened, you have no idea, you've never seen the deer, I would definitely, we try to keep in contact with all the people around us that have land that hunt near us, I'm going to ask them, hey, do you guys know of a big, I'd give them a general, like what Warren's saying, a general description, so that they could tell me, like if somebody were to if they knew somebody that did shoot it, they could tell me exactly he's got a split G2 or he's got a sticker off this or whatever, so I know it's theirs. But I'll take it, get the salvage tag, whatever, and if I can find somebody, I'm not gonna like be calling left and right trying to figure out whose it is, but I'll reach out to the people that are around and say, hey, do you guys know anybody that shot a big buck, kind of thing. And it sounds like in that situation, a few months later, somebody's like, hey, I know who killed that deer or whatever that you're talking about. There you go. Give it back. Not a big deal. But I'm not going to sit there and interrogate it.
How much information do we have?
You just said you have nothing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that. But then let's just say that the dude that ends up coming forward and saying that he shot it is a known poacher in the area, or someone that everyone thinks is a poacher. He's never been charged, but they know he rides the roads and does this, does that. And he's claiming that he shot it. Now, I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. There becomes a.
Well, if it's that guy, I ain't giving it to him.
See, that's where I'm going to have the issue with making a decision on it if I'm going to give it. Because if I don't give it back, even though he could have purposely, legally, or completely legally killed it and everything,
one for the first
it's
time.
just skeptical. It's just judgment. And I don't give it back, then it's like, well, okay, I'm playing God here. I'm playing the law. I'm doing this or that. And I think that it would weigh harder on myself to keep it than just like, man. Because plus, if I don't know who it is, I have no connection to that deer. I don't give a crap if it's 220 or 200. If I have no idea what deer that is, great. It's cool that I have that big of a deer. I found that big of a deer. But if I have no connection to it and somebody else genuinely killed it, here you go. And it would hurt me more to hold on to it and sit there thinking, well, I'm hiding it from this guy because I don't like him, or I know that or I think he does this and that, than it would be for me to just give it to him. So I'd like to think, I really would. I would really like to give myself the benefit of the doubt that I would say, even if it would hurt, like, here you go, man, this is all you. This is your deer.
He better provide me a significant amount of information, or no. Like, if I'm pretty confident that this dude is poaching, and when I say I'm pretty confident, I'm 85, 90% sure, he better be able to show me the landowner. He better show me some trail camera pictures or something, the timeline in which he killed the deer, what he shot it with, where he thought that it went, some photos of a blood trail or text, or he better show me a lot of info before I'm ever even going to consider giving that guy a deer back. Because I'm just thinking of people that we've caught before, like poachers like that, that are just not, they don't deserve it. That's what, they probably shot it out of the truck. and then they want it back, which most of the time they probably aren't going to be the ones calling you and saying that anyways, though, because they know they shot it illegally. But any other guy that's an honest dude, even if he can't provide me near that amount of information, I'm giving him the deer.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that most of those guys don't have the character to want a deer that I could. That's why I'll probably never understand the antler buying thing, is because it could be a 100-inch antler, and I don't really care unless I found it myself.
Right.
I mean, there's just nothing there for me on it. Like, I've tried to get Bullwinkle's antlers back for freaking $2,000, and I would never even consider paying. You could give me, say, here's a set that's 120 inches a side, and I wouldn't pay $10, unless maybe turn into antler chews or something. But I don't care about deer like that. Like, I want to have found them.
Right. No, I agree. I have 3 antlers that I did not pick up myself that are in.
I was just thinking about those.
This set here, I bought that at a fundraising auction.
I made you do it, I think, because we were there, and you're like,
well, it was for a good cause, and nobody had bid on it.
Yeah,
that's what
he
said. He's like, well, we can bid on it because it's at least going to go to.
But we would never try to tell someone that we found those as a deer that we were hunting or anything like that. They're obviously
aren't they high fence too?
They got to be. They didn't know. I asked them, and they didn't know that. But
that wasn't the reason you bought the antlers.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those are high fence.
And then the only other one that I have that is not something that we found would be the one that was given to us in Montana.
Oh, yeah. But that was like a going away present.
It was. I mean, the gentleman wanted us to have it. That was his way of saying thank you for the friendship, so.
But that was a connection to the person.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Yep.
That was a really cool one.
No, I mean, like to find.
These are huge. That's got to be a fence deer.
I'm sure that's out of a pen.
Yeah. The coloring is even just weird.
Yeah.
But the coloring also looks like it's been burnt. I've found sets like that.
But they're cool,
Yeah.
Well, they're a conversation piece is all they are. But the first thing that we've used them at shows where Mom had pictures set on them and stuff like that. And you got to explain to someone right away, that's not a deer we're hunting or ever hunted or had anything to do with. Because again, there's nothing legal. We could let people believe that, but ethically, I wouldn't want someone to think that this is a representation of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
Yep.
So, all right. Did we cover enough of your ethical, legal?
I think we could do that. You could have all sorts of situations. I bet you could even do a part 2 of this one and have everybody that are listening to this, situations they've gone through, let us know or comment. Nice. Man, he walked over here, farted, and walked away.
That's why it'll always be a discussion, though, is because there's not a hard line on it like there is with.
Yeah, I would like to do a part. This one is just one that I've been really excited about doing for a while, just to talk about. But if you guys have any that are crazy situations or not that crazy, or things that you've gone through and you're like, man, what the heck was I supposed to do? Or I did do this, or I didn't do this, but I didn't know what else. One, I'd like to read them, just to hear about them, and 2, maybe if we do a part 2, something like that, some of the other things people have done, and we can talk about what we would have done. That's kind of bringing back our social media, the WWYD.
Yeah, what would you do?
Those were so fun because we'd come up with any situation we possibly could, and you post that out there, and the answers you guys would come up with it was so fun to read that stuff because you come up with crazy situations or situations you've been through, and just see what other people do in that situation. So I think. Definitely, this one is, or I'm going to even especially say, tell us some situations or tell us about something you've gone through, been through, heard about, and maybe we'll talk about it again if we get enough or get some cool ones. So
for sure.
But
all right,
do your thing.
Anything else?
Leave us a review.
Yeah,
leave us a review. Only if it's 5-star. 4.5 we'll accept, but 5-star and share.
But if there are things that you guys would seriously like for us to change, do a different approach. Now, we're not going to change our clothes, or we're not going to do certain things, or Warren's not going to shave.
Easton's going to wear a tutu.
Yeah.
This Monday.
Mm-hmm. But, if it's things that we can, if we can hear feedback from you guys, we will certainly try to do that. So
just for the other thing, too, that we just got set up to, send us your requests, anything on any social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The other thing, you can go to our website, just look up Raised Hunting, and you'll see our podcast thing. You can type in whether you want to do a topic or any stories on there, you can contact us through that extremely easily now too. So
Podcast guests too.
yep,
You guys
do
have
it.
people you want to
or you want to
hear
be
on for guests, yeah.
Yep.
Or maybe we have people call in with their situations.
Yep.
Shoot us your
100%.
ideas.
Sure appreciate you guys. Again, thanks for sharing. Thanks for the reviews. We will see you next time, and looking forward to it. Hunting season's not quite over for us. If it's not over for you, good luck.